She smiled at you, she laughed with you, she sat across from you at dinner and asked how your day was. And the whole time, she remembered. Not obsessively, not with anger boiling on the surface, just quietly, deeply, permanently. Because a woman who has been betrayed doesn't carry the wound where you can see it. She carries it in the way she pauses before she trusts, in the way she watches eyes instead of words, in the way she loves a little more carefully the second time around. People say forgive and forget, but here is what nobody tells you. A woman who has been truly betrayed, who has had her loyalty thrown back in her face, who has loved someone with everything she had only to be deceived, she forgives. She genuinely does, but she never, ever forgets. And today, I want to explain exactly why. Not to justify bitterness, not to celebrate holding grudges, but to help you understand, and maybe to help you understand yourself, why that memory is not a flaw, it is a feature. Welcome back, beautiful. I'm Sofia Valentina, and this is your space, your honest, real, no-filter space, for conversations about love, pain, healing, and becoming the woman who refuses to be broken by what was meant to break her. If you've been here before, you already know we don't sugarcoat things here. And if you're new, I'm so glad you found this video today, because something tells me this one was made for you. Before we dive in, I want to say something important. This video is not about holding on to anger. It is not about revenge. It is not about punishing the next person for what the last one did. It is about understanding the psychology behind why betrayal rewires a woman's heart in ways that last long after the person who caused it has gone. And once you understand it, everything starts to make a little more sense. Let's talk about it. Most people think betrayal is just sadness, like a really bad heartbreak. You cry, you grieve, you move on. But betrayal is something fundamentally different from ordinary heartbreak, and science actually backs this up. When you love someone and they betray you, whether that's infidelity, lies, broken promises, emotional manipulation, or any form of deception, your brain doesn't just experience emotional pain, it experiences something closer to trauma. The part of your brain that processes physical pain actually activates the same way when social trust is broken. The pain is not just emotional, it is neurological. And here's what makes betrayal so specifically devastating for women who love deeply. When you love someone fully, you open yourself up, you let your guard down, you stop questioning every word and every action because you believe this person. You trust them with the soft, unprotected parts of yourself. And when that person takes that trust and uses it carelessly, or worse, weaponizes it, the damage doesn't just affect your feelings, it affects your very ability to believe. That's the wound betrayal leaves. Not just a broken heart, a broken ability to trust freely. And the memory of it, that memory is your nervous system's way of saying, I will never be caught off guard like that again. I will never ignore the signs. I will never hand my whole heart to someone who hasn't proven they can hold it with care. It is not weakness, it is wisdom earned the hard way. Section 2, Why a Woman Never Truly Forgets. Here is something I want you to sit with for a moment. The women who remember betrayal most deeply, they are not the bitter ones. They are the ones who loved the most completely. You don't remember deeply what cost you nothing. You remember what cost you everything. When a woman has given her trust, her time, her emotional energy, her vulnerability, her loyalty, when she has shown up consistently, forgiven small things before they became big things, believed in someone's potential, and then is betrayed, what is lost is not just a relationship. What is lost is the version of herself that was willing to be that open. And that loss cannot be forgotten, not because she is holding on, but because it changed her. The woman who comes out the other side of real betrayal is not the same woman who walked into it. She is older somewhere inside, more careful, more discerning. She reads people differently now. She notices inconsistencies she would have once explained away. She feels the difference between someone's words and their energy before she can even fully articulate why. This is not damage. This is evolution. Think about it in the most practical terms. If you put your hand on a hot stove once and you burned yourself badly, truly badly, your hand would remember, not because you are traumatized, but because your body learned something true, and it would never let you rest that hand down on something dangerously hot without warning you first. Betrayal works the same way in a woman's heart. The memory is not a grudge. The memory is a guardian. Section 3. The things she remembers that nobody sees here is what a woman who has been betrayed carries that the world never gets to see. She remembers the exact moment she knew something was wrong, that one small thing that didn't quite add up, and how she talked herself out of it because she trusted him more than she trusted herself. She remembers choosing his version of the story over her own instinct. And that, more than anything else, is what she never lets happen again. She remembers the face she had to wear in public, the way she smiled at events and family gatherings while carrying something heavy in her chest that she couldn't explain to anyone. She remembers performing okay while she was crumbling quietly inside. She remembers who showed up and who disappeared. She remembers which friends believed him. She remembers which ones believed her. She remembers who checked in on her in the weeks after, and who assumed she was fine because she seemed fine. She remembers the specific kindness of strangers during that period. A colleague who brought her coffee without asking why she looked tired. A friend who sat with her in silence because there were no words. These things are written in her memory permanently because they were lights in a very dark time. And she remembers her own strength. Maybe she doesn't celebrate it, maybe she barely acknowledges it. But deep down, she knows what she survived. She knows the nights she thought she wouldn't make it through, and she knows she did. That knowing lives in her quietly, like a coal that never fully goes out, keeping her warm in the next cold season. Section 4. How betrayal changes. The way she loves now, and this is the part I really want you to hear, a woman who has been betrayed doesn't stop loving. That is one of the biggest myths. She doesn't become cold. She doesn't become unfeeling. She doesn't become unavailable. She becomes selective. She loves differently. Not less, differently. She takes longer to open up because she now understands the weight of what she's offering. She pays attention to consistency because she knows charm is easy, but reliability is everything. She pulls back when something feels off because she no longer has the luxury of ignoring her own intuition. She gives love in a more measured, more deliberate way. Not calculated in a manipulative sense, but intentional. She is no longer giving her whole heart to someone in the first month, not because she is playing games, but because she respects herself too much to be reckless with something that precious. And here is the beautiful paradox, Mayunin. When she does finally decide someone is worth her full trust, when she has watched them long enough and they have shown up consistently enough and her gut has said yes, the love she gives from that place is extraordinary. Because it is chosen. Because it is not just feeling, it is decision, and a love that is both felt and decided is the strongest kind of love there is. The man who earns the love of a woman who has been betrayed has earned something rare, something real. Something that has been through fire and survived. He doesn't get the naive, unguarded girl who hands her heart away freely. He gets the woman, the whole, knowing, deliberate woman who looked at him and chose him anyway. Section 5. The difference between remembering and staying bitter. I want to be clear about something, because this is important. There is a difference between a woman who remembers and a woman who is consumed. Remembering is healthy. Remembering is the lesson your pain paid for. Remembering keeps you discerning, keeps you from repeating the same patterns, keeps you honest about what you will and won't accept. Bitterness is different. Bitterness is when the memory becomes a prison, when it starts coloring every new person with the guilt of the one who hurt you, when it becomes your whole story, when you start punishing people who have done nothing wrong for the sins of someone they've never met. And here is the honest truth. Sometimes we slip between the two. Sometimes we think we've healed, and then someone does something small that reminds us, and we react from the wound instead of from the present. That is human. That is not failure. That is just the work continuing. The goal is not to forget. The goal is to integrate, to carry the wisdom without carrying the weight, to let the experience make you sharper, wiser, more discerning, without letting it make you closed, suspicious, or unable to receive good love when it shows up. A woman who has truly done the work, who has grieved fully, who has understood what happened, who has forgiven herself for the ways she ignored her own instincts. She carries her story lightly. It informs her without controlling her. It protects her without imprisoning her. That is the woman you are becoming, and she is remarkable. Section 6. What she wants you to know. If you are the woman who has been betrayed, I want to say something directly to you. What happened to you was not a reflection of your worth. You were not too much or too little or too anything. You were simply with someone who was not capable of honoring what you gave, and that is their story, not yours. Your memory is not something to be ashamed of. It is not evidence that you are broken or damaged or too sensitive. It is evidence that you loved genuinely, that you showed up fully, that you gave something real to someone who wasn't ready to receive it properly. You are allowed to remember. You are allowed to be changed by it. You are allowed to love differently now. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to have standards that some people call walls, because you know the difference between a wall and a boundary. A wall keeps everyone out. A boundary keeps the wrong ones out and lets the right one in. Don't let anyone rush your healing. Don't let anyone call your wisdom coldness. Don't let anyone convince you that you need to go back to being the unguarded, unconditionally trusting woman you were before, as if that version of you was better. She wasn't better. She was just younger. You are not damaged. You are refined. A woman who has been betrayed never forgets. And now you understand why. Because she loved with everything. Because the loss was real. Because her memory is not a wound she is nursing. It is a wisdom she has earned. She forgives because she is big enough to. She remembers because she is wise enough to. And she loves again, carefully, deliberately, beautifully, because she is brave enough to. If this video touched you today, please give it a like. It genuinely helps more women find this space who need to hear this. Leave me a comment below. Have you been through a betrayal that changed the way you love? I want to hear your story. I read every single message. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next one. Take care of your heart, beautiful. You've earned the right to protect it.